New items like the signature Sunset Dip and Dave's Chili, and a second location at Sugar Creek Golf Course in beautiful High Ridge. Experience the Hideout while enjoying a round of golf. Come in for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout, hideoutsportsbar.com, hideoutsportsbar.com. We'll definitely see you there.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Monday, 4 weeks into the Trump administration, America has seen a 90% drop in foreign nationals trying to cross the border to seek asylum or sneak into this country. 90%. Doge, Elon Musk, has uncovered billions of dollars of wasteful spending. And now President Trump and bad Vlad Putin have agreed to talk about ending the war in Ukraine. Now, that's not bad for 4 weeks. But my question is, why didn't President Biden do any of that? What was going on for 4 years in this country? So the border totally out of control. Everybody knows it. Indefensible. Biden's never even addressed it. First day, executive order, open the border. Anybody who wants to come in can come in. We'll pay for it. Joe, that's not good. That hurt the country. Then the spending. Joe Biden, the biggest spending president in history. No explanation. And now we're seeing where all the money went. Crazy places. And finally, Putin wouldn't even talk to Biden. That's the truth. He would not even talk to the man. So those of you who voted for Kamala Harris, who's by extension Joe Biden, see if you can answer those questions. Why didn't Joe do anything? I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Michael Pelt, Jacksonville, Florida. For decades, we've been told that federal employees cannot be easily fired due to existing civil service laws. Now it appears President Trump can fire employees at will. No, he can't. It's got to go through the process. So they're offering buyouts. And about 65,000 federal employees want the buyouts. They're not just saying, hey, get out. There's a process. Okay, and we got to downsize it. Mike Tobey, Columbia Falls, Montana. Bill, if Congress passes a law that funds an agency and it's discovered those funds are being used fraudulently, doesn't Congress have a duty to pull those funds back? They're already gone. They can cut the funding for the next budget year. But again, Congress doesn't really care about this, does it? Now, with Doge, hopefully that's changed. Neil Horowitz, Long Beach, New York, out on Long Island. Why haven't Biden and Mayorkas been charged with treason by the Trump Department of Justice for violating our Constitution and immigration laws? Because they have immunity. Every elected official has immunity from their decision-making, even if it's faulty, right? So you can't charge them. That's why. And treason is like the Rosenbergs. You can't say, they didn't obey federal law. That's treason. Not even, they get thrown out in a minute. But you got to remember, if you elect someone, or we the people elect someone, you can't hold them in a court for decision-making. And even if that means they didn't uphold the law, they violated their oath. You can impeach them. You can do that. And you can't charge them in criminal court. In a moment, something you might not know. Hey, folks, let's talk about a serious threat to your home called title fraud. Criminals will just forge one document, file it with the recorder, and just like that, your home's title is stolen. Some even take out loans against your property, all without you knowing. So I urge you to take action with Home Title Lock. Their triple lock protection provides 24/7 monitoring, alerts, and an expert team that will restore your title if fraud happens at no extra cost. Heading into 2025, Home Title Lock is offering an exclusive 25% off their protection plans. Please go to HometitleLock.com. Use promo code BILL25 to get 25% off your subscription and a free title history report to ensure you are not already a victim. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL25.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, ephes, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Tim Jones here. For lunchtime, Capriati's cannot be beat, and I love the grilled chicken parmesan at Capriati's. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. Since taking office a month ago, Donald Trump has vowed to vanquish corruption at the Department of Justice, specifically the FBI. A recent survey from Gallup finds less than 50% of Americans now support the Bureau. Here are some recent scandals that have rattled the public. July 2016. At the height of the presidential campaign, FBI Director James Comey cleared Hillary Clinton of mishandling classified information. Wrote the Bureau chief, quote, "In looking back at our investigations into mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges against Hillary Clinton." But a few months later in October, Comey reversed himself, saying that maybe Hillary did something wrong, and that threw the election into chaos. July 2017, Special Agent Peter Strzok is fired from Robert Mueller's Russia collusion probe after text messages showed political bias. In private conversations with FBI lawyer Lisa Page, Strzok vowed, "We'll stop Trump" by creating, quote, an insurance policy against his administration. That's from an FBI agent investigating Trump. Not good. August 2020, declassified material shows the FBI misled Congress about the reliability of so-called Steele dossier. The fraudulent document was used by the Obama administration to obtain warrants and spy on the Trump campaign in support of Hillary. October 2020, the FBI suppresses information about Hunter Biden's missing laptop. The device contains statements of multiple felonies, including drug use, illegal possession of a handgun, and prostitution. Details from the laptop were hidden from the public until after the 2020 election. So you add it all up, and the FBI is chin deep in corruption. It should be investigated. Back after this. President Trump is working hard to fix our government, but much damage has been done. The dollar drops daily, and with national debt at crisis levels and a stock market on the edge, the situation looks grim. That's why I have chosen to protect my wealth with physical metals like gold and silver, and you can too by calling American Hartford Gold, the dealer I trust. They offer gold and silver delivered right to your door, or you can set up a tax-advantaged gold IRA. American Hartford Gold can help you protect your savings by rolling over your 401k or IRA tax-free and penalty-free. Call or text American Hartford Gold today. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they will give you up to $15,000 of free silver on qualifying orders. Please call 866-501-5201 or text Bill to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201 or text Bill to 65532. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. For more news and honest analysis, please go to BillO'Reilly.com. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Fox News commentary.
President Trump made a special appearance at the Daytona 500 and the reception was red hot. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 10% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Trump is a man of the people, whether he's signing executive orders and taking rapid-fire questions in the Oval Office or making appearances at sporting events. He is in his element, and this is his era. That was made apparent by the reception he received over the weekend when he attended the Daytona 500 race. The special day included the Beast taking a lap around the track, President Trump delivering a message to the drivers and waving to the crowd with his granddaughter by his side. And when the camera panned to him during the national anthem, the crowd went wild. You know, it's a stark contrast to the Democrats who are literally foaming at the mouth and spewing swear words left and right. What a time to be alive. Kamala Harris could never be this cool, by the way. And the only time Joe Biden riled up a sports crowd was when they were calling him Brandon and some other names. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
You're going to run your agency, or the agency's going to run you.
Don't go over there and burn down that agency.
The only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI.
An American Airlines flight colliding with an Army helicopter.
President Trump is looking out for you by issuing this pause. He is being a good steward of your taxpayer dollars.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one.
For conservative talk.
Always great talk.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. News Talk HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The death toll in Kentucky from floods rises to 11 as the East Coast and Midwest brace for more bad weather.
Governor Andy Beshear calls the situation dire and says most of the deaths were cars getting stuck in high water.
One of the most challenging weather events that we have faced. We are still in the search and rescue phase.
In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott says they're preparing for severe weather across the state, from fires to floods to freezing temperatures, some near zero.
When temperatures get that cold, lives are at risk. People need to be very cautious here in the coming days as the temperatures plummet.
And the National Weather Service says there's a snowstorm forecast for the Northeast and Midwest. I'm Julie Walker.
President Trump enjoys strong support for some of his policies and strong opposition for others. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
A recent Marquette Law School poll finds that nearly 2/3 of Americans support the government recognizing only two sexes, and 60% favor expanding oil and gas production. There's also strong support for declaring a national emergency at the southern border. However, 57% of Americans oppose deporting immigrants who have jobs and no criminal record, and 65% oppose the president's pardoning of January 6th rioters charged for their assault on the U.S. Capitol. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A badly injured child is among 8 people who were injured when a Delta Airlines plane flipped upon arrival at Toronto's Pearson Airport. The airport confirmed on X that an incident occurred Monday with the Delta flight from Minneapolis and that all 80 passengers and crew are accounted for. Video from the scene shows the jet upside down on the snowy tarmac. More on these stories at townhall.com.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is being restored. And there's breaking news every minute. Now, tens of millions of Americans are turning off Fox and CNN and tuning in to Newsmax for the breaking information they really need to know. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top news brands in America. Find it yourself on all major cable systems and on your TV or smartphone store. Just download the Newsmax app for free and start watching. You'll get great shows with Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and Carl Higbee, and more. Find out why millions of Americans have made the switch. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific, and he's watching. So make the switch to Newsmax. Check us out on cable and satellite TV, or download the Newsmax app today. Watch us anytime, anywhere. Remember, Newsmax.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cold day out there with a high temperature only making it into the mid-20s this afternoon and the wind chills into the teens. And then the snow rolls in tonight. We could see a few flurries during the day today, but the significant snow begins overnight. A winter storm watch is in effect tonight for the St. Louis area. And we could get several inches of snow, more to the south and a little less to the north on Tuesday. And a few flurries and very cold the rest of the week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189 million. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
News, analysis, opinion.
1,500 U.S. troops to the U.S.-Mexico border.
President Donald Trump threatening 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
Everything will be revealed. 101.9 and 94.1. News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
There has been an incident involving a Delta Airlines flight into Toronto. Flight 4819 appears to have flipped over following landing. The Toronto Pearson Airport released a statement on X saying, quote, emergency teams are responding. All passengers and crew are accounted for. The flight originated from Minneapolis-St. Paul.
The plane appears to be upside down. The wings and tail ripped off. The nose landing gear still in place. The Toronto Pearson Airport had gotten a significant amount of snow over the last week. In fact, over the weekend, they were working quite hard to clear. It had been about 7 inches of snow going into yesterday.
406 and welcome into the President's Day edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. It is February 17th. And there you hear it. There has been another aircraft incident, a aircraft heading into Canada, flipped on its side there, or flipped over and is on its back there, as you heard. I'm sure there will be quick to be people that will try to politicize this tragedy, Tim, and will say that the reason why this happened is because Trump is cutting people in the federal government. And Tim is there. We can't hear you, Tim. Maybe he is muted there, but you know that's going to be one of the first cries that we're going to hear, is that the Trump cuts, the Doge cuts by Elon Musk, were somehow responsible for a lack of people in the control towers, lack in the FAA. Who knows? But welcome into the show. We're having a little difficulty with Tim there in Jefferson City, as he's usually there Monday and Tuesday. He's going to do a little reboot there, and we'll have him back here in a minute. Got to give a shout out, Joey, to a friend of the station, friend of the show, a personal friend of all of ours, Skip Weber over at Weber Chevrolet. Had to take the Sonic in today, had the dreaded check engine light on, and we went in there. The service tech there, Mike Mansfield, always takes care of me when I'm there at Weber Chevrolet, right there, 270 and Olive. Got us in, took care of the problem, and was off on my way in a few hours, and had plenty of time to do the show. Didn't take a lot of my time there. So Weber Chevrolet, you know, they're a friend of ours, and they have a great service team there, and they took care of me today. Tim Jones, are you taken care of, my friend?
I am here.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Jeff City Swamp.
In the Jeff City Swamp. Did you hear the clip of the plane incident today from going into Toronto? Apparently, on landing, the plane must have flipped over somehow on its back. Mm-hmm. All the wings and the tail are gone, but apparently everyone is alive and accounted for.
Yeah, Chris, I heard the clip, and of course they'll want to blame whoever they're going to blame. What they should blame, though, are the policies that were implemented under the Biden administration. We've had 4 years of the wokeatocracy and DEI hires, and that's what they should be blaming on. Donald Trump's got a gigantic mess to clean up, and every time Pete Buttigieg went on air to talk about a plane, train, or automobile situation, he never gave us anything other than word salad. So hopefully with Sean Duffy now in place, we'll stop having these incidences. But like we said, like we've argued, there's a lot of work for us to work on as we get back to being a meritocracy, having the best people flying the planes and et cetera and so forth across the country.
Exactly. Today is President's Day, as we said. And and it's also Monday. And so we were always honored to have Senator Jim Talent, chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council, will join us at 424. A lot to talk about with him in the news, especially with this Ukraine Russian war, the developments that seem to be happening there. There will be a meeting in Saudi Arabia regarding that situation. We'll talk with Jim Talent 424 about that. Chris's Corner at 445 will give you the latest updates on Trump and Doge and the Democrats' latest implosion. 507, of course, is the speaker's stump speech.
Yes, we're going to talk about President's Day, a.k.a. Washington's birthday, which was the original celebration of this particular time in our nation's history. I'm going to talk a little bit about why Washington truly was the father of our country.
And at 524, we will have Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at redstate.com and host of Red State Radio Sundays at 4 p.m. We'll discuss with her the latest Red State headlines. You know, Tim, usually our show, we start with the national news because that's where, the big news is with Donald Trump, with president, with Doge, with the cost cutting and everything. That's where the news is. But of course, we live in St. Louis, Missouri, and there's a lot of things going on locally and on the state level. You are there in Jeff City tomorrow and today. But I want to talk to you about something specific that I saw in the Post-Dispatch today about our friend Representative Perkins has filed a bill that some people are saying is geared towards one judge there. I think his name is Cotton Judge Cotton Walker. And Cotton Walker. And what do you know about this bill that Representative Perkins has filed that seems to be directed at Judge Cotton Walker?
Have not heard about the bill, but I actually know Cotton Walker personally. I know him to I think I'm not sure, but I think he's kind of an old school Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that wrote the decision that upended the Amendment 3 issue, basically helped it stay on the ballot. And many disagreed with his decision. It seems, Chris, that every time ballot initiatives go to the courts, they 9 times out of 10 preserve the liberal-leaning initiatives, and they cast out the conservative-leaning initiatives. And I think maybe Cotton Walker may have caught the attention of some of the Republican legislators here. What exactly is Representative Perkins looking to do?
Here it is. He's got a bill that, if it becomes law, it would rearrange 2 of the 4 circuit judgeships in Cole County, making it possible for lawmakers to refuse to pay Walker's salary beyond 2026. And that is Cole County Circuit Judge Cotton Walker. How many linen suits does he have? What's those suits that you wear in the summertime? The blue,
seersucker.
I can just see him with a seersucker suit on, with a straw hat somewhere. I know he's not as old as, but I can just see some old man about 90 years old sitting on a porch there in the South somewhere with a mint julep, and his name is Judge Cotton Walker. I can just.
He's actually right around my age.
Yeah, I
so
saw
he's
a
younger
picture
than
of
you.
him.
But you're right.
That has to be a family name.
Well, I often think of Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah.
He said.
Have you ever heard him talk? Does he have an accent? Is he a Southern guy?
Nope. It must just be an old, like you said, Chris, maybe an old rural Missouri family name. But he's Cotton Walker. I've known him a long time, and I was very disappointed in that ruling, and it seems that so were some of the legislators
exactly.
up here.
I'm going to do a law specifically aimed at him to cut his salary next year. So we see how that works. Again, Tim, I don't think you heard the story there. You might have been rebooting there. I had to go to Weber Chevrolet and have the check engine light on the car looked at, and so it gave me a couple few hours in the Weber Chevrolet waiting room there to watch TV. And I don't watch a lot of local TV. I usually watch cable, so I got to see local commercials and everything. And my, that St. Louis City mayoral races seems to be heating up. I saw a lot of Kara Spencer and a lot of Tashara Jones commercials, Tim. And if you hear Mayor Tashara Jones commercial, it's happy days again in the city. I mean, crime is down. Police and ambulance attention of coming to people's rescues and to the calls, that is up. I mean, it's just a renaissance in St. Louis, as he said once before. Your thoughts?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was thinking the same exact thing on Saturday evening. Chris,
Yeah.
I like you. I don't watch a lot of local channels, much less local news.
Right.
But Saturday evening, I was watching the U.S. versus Canada 4-nation face-off tournament.
All right.
What an exciting game. And we'll have to talk about that. The Canadians booed the singing of the American national anthem in Montreal, Canada.
Right.
The American hockey players responded by engaging in 3 brawls in the first 9 seconds of the game.
USA! Sorry, Tim, I got carried away.
And,
I'm sorry.
And Chris, between all the commercial breaks, yes, I couldn't get away from Tashara Jones telling not only you, Chris, but me how wonderful things were in the city.
How did you not spit out your beer when you watched that?
I was like, am I watching like somebody down in Florida on the streets of the Magic Kingdom? Chris, it was like, first of all, we're in the middle of winter, right? It's absolutely miserable here in the Midwest. I like the Midwest for a lot of the year. I don't like the Midwest for January, February, and the first half of March, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the year, it's very nice, summertime, so and so. Chris, these commercials, it was like the sun is shining, the birds are singing. So first of all, it's like it's really off. It was like off-putting.
I agree.
Because like I'm looking outside and it's gray and it's 20 degrees. And I know she's wanting everybody to think of what it's going to be like in the spring, but here we are, and it's just horrible weather-wise, and it's horrible situation-wise, right? Chris, I was down in the city of St. Louis last week. I went to a political event that featured the city Republicans, and they had Andrew Jones there to speak. He's running for mayor. And all I could think about, Chris, was how sad the city of St. Louis has become. We were at this little bar called Beffa's. The family has been there in that area since 1899. Wow. And I said, how's business? And he said, Tim, we are a fort. And, we'll have to get Mike Beff on. He's a great guy, Chris. He listens to our show. He loves our show. I never met him before in my life. And he said, I love you guys. Listen to you every day. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I said, well, how's it going? He goes, Tim, we're hanging on, man. We're hanging on by a shoestring. This is the 4th generation. My son, Paul, runs the bar and grill now. The thing that keeps us afloat are these city soccer games. But he said because of COVID and the rest of the hollowing out of the city because of crime, and he goes, it's not like it used to be, and we're not sure how much longer we can last. And I was like, how sad. This is a family business since 1899, and nobody in Tashara Jones's mayoral office, I don't think, is that concerned about whether these little family businesses continue in the city or not. Because all this crap in these commercials, Chris, is just that.
Yeah, and it's just a string, really, of restaurants, from little mom and pop businesses to those type of businesses that have been around as long as this business has, 1899, to huge businesses like Mike Shannon and others downtown that are leaving, not because the market is so bad and people aren't eating out. It's like people just don't want to have to take their life in their hands going downtown to eat when you can go to Clayton or any of the suburbs to eat. And these commercials that Mayor Tashara Jones, I know you got to put commercials out there when you're running for re-election that you've done a great job, but they almost seem tone deaf compared to what we've been experiencing under her leadership. And I tell you, Tim, one thing that I have noticed about Kara Spencer's commercials is all the Black people that are in those commercials saying this time we're voting for Kara. So it'll be interesting to see if that message resonates. I think we talked with David Stokes about this a couple of weeks ago. A poll came out that showed that the Kara Spencer had a pretty significant lead over the rest of the field.
Chris, it's a defiance of reality is what those ads are, as you pointed. It's an absolute intentional ignorance of reality. I guess Tashara Jones is trying to pull a fast one over on the voters. But, I was at this event and we had, I think 2/3 of the people, I had everybody raise their hands. 2/3 of the people in the room live in the city. There were people there of all ages, of all colors, of all shapes and sizes. And what we heard over and over and over again, every single speaker, Nick Schroer was there talking about his crime bill. Peter Kinder had come up from Cape Girardeau because the party is trying to, help shed some light on this mayoral race. But everybody that was there that spoke, and everybody that I spoke with afterwards, because a lot of people wanted to, speak directly with me about their concerns.
Right.
It was crime and the educational system. Over and over and over again. We are not safe. And we can't educate our kids. If you can't do those two things, then no wonder businesses are leaving. They're going to go to places in Missouri, or even worse, places outside Missouri, outside of St. Louis, that do have safe environments and do provide solid educations for their children.
Tashara Jones and others who believe that the state take over the police is somehow something to take something away from them. But I mean, the people in the city want different leadership, different happenings in their neighborhoods and their surroundings. You hear from the vocal civil rights activists and the politicians about everything, how Republicans are terrible and blah, blah. But if you go down into the hood and actually talk to the people, and they will tell you they are not happy with Tashara Jones's leadership. They know that crime is out of control. They are virtual prisoners in their homes, and they don't see anything being done about it.
That's exactly right, Chris. And it also, I also want to clear something up, because people are they're using improper talking points on purpose when they're talking about Nick Schroer's restructuring of the control of the St. Louis City Police Department. Senator Schroer has the bill on the Senate side. It's going to hit the floor again this week, and I think they're going to go after it in earnest, try to get it out of the Senate this week. Representative Brad Christ, has the same exact bill on the House side, and I think that's coming to the House floor this week. It's not really appropriate to say state control versus local control, because what it is who decides who's going to control the boards, right? Every single person, if Senator Schroer's bill passes, guess who's going to be sitting on the St. Louis City Police Board? St. Louis City residents. St. Louis City residents. Who chooses them is going to change. The governor will appoint one person. The mayor, if it's Tashara Jones and she survives her election, or whoever the mayor is going to be next, they will sit on the board. And then the remaining 3 people will be chosen from slates of candidates put forward to the governor's office by both the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, and the Ethical Society of Police, both major police unions. So it is going to be the police, it's going to be the mayor, and it's going to be a governor's representative. And I would imagine that at least 4 out of those 5 picks are going to be people that will want to support and fund the police, not defund the police. And that's where Mayor Tashara Jones went so wrong over the last few years.
And I agree 100%. Coming up, we are going to speak with Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council, on all of the big foreign and international news today. And at 5:24, we'll speak with Susie Moore, deputy managing editor at redstate.com. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
The man of the hour has an air of great power. The dudes have envied him for so long.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cold day out there with a high temperature only making it into the mid-20s this afternoon, and the wind chills into the teens, and then the snow rolls in tonight. We could see a few flurries during the day today, but the significant snow begins overnight. A winter storm watch is in effect tonight for the St. Louis area, and we could get several inches of snow, more to the south and a little less to the north on Tuesday, and a few flurries and very cold the rest of the week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Let's talk about the Better Business Bureau. Tim Jones here to tell you all about the Better Business Bureau. New year, new opportunity for all you business owners to show your commitment to integrity and hard work with the Better Business Bureau by your side. They're available 24/7 to all business owners and to the public at large, because you should check out businesses as well at bbb.org. bbb.org. Created by business owners. It's not a government agency. It's here to help business owners like you all to uphold your standards of excellence without unnecessary interference from any other agency. With accreditation from the BBB, you gain access to resources to help your business grow and thrive, networking opportunities, dispute resolution. That comes in really handy. I remember when I was practicing lawyer, we used those quite a bit. Tools to stay ahead in today's competitive landscape, and so much more. Stand out amongst your competition. Don't you want to do that? Don't you want to show your customers, past, present, and most importantly, future, that your business values trust and ethics? Apply for that accreditation today. More than a torch, more than a symbol. Symbols are important, but it's a promise at its core to show your customers you will do business the right way. Apply for BBB accreditation today. What do you got to lose? You only got something to gain. Visit bbb.org today, 314-645-3300, bbb.org. BBB, the sign of a truly better business.
I can tell you how to get a free quick quiz to see how artificial intelligence can boost your company's potential. You go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. St. Louis Business Magazine listing PRI as one of the leading IT companies, and PRI has its own AI lab to develop what your business needs. priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Tonight, President Trump revealing that his team spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin for hours ahead of high-stakes talks to end the war in Ukraine.
I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them. And Zelensky wants to end it too.
On his first trip to Israel as Secretary of State, Marco Rubio saying the Ukraine talks set to take place in Saudi Arabia are a starting point.
Vladimir Putin expressed his interest in peace, and the president expressed his desire to see an end to this conflict in a way that was enduring and that protected Ukrainian sovereignty.
428 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and it's Monday, and you know what that means. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and I hope all your wonderful listeners are doing well today.
Happy President's Day, too.
Yes, same to you.
Senator, I don't try to fancy myself a diplomat in any kind of way. I don't try to play one on the radio either. But if there is going to be negotiations between Ukraine and Israel happening in Saudi Arabia with Russia there as well, shouldn't Ukraine be there too?
Well, Chris, what the reports are not telling you is the tremendous, furious diplomatic effort that's going on at the same time. Mm-hmm. So Rubio has talked with Lavrov. Witkoff and Waltz are in Saudi Arabia. Kellogg has talked to Zelensky. Grinnell is talking to Zelensky's deputy. Ukraine has a quote-unquote economic delegation in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of effort going on. We're seeing the vigorous use of the diplomatic tool. The president is pulling the strings behind it, and Ukraine's being fully consulted. So I would imagine after these talks, they'll probably be Rubio probably go and talk to Zelensky. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. I'm actually very pleased with how this is being handled. Now, what we need at the end of the day is a deal around several core elements. They're going to have a deal on territory. They're going to have a commitment, and Russia won't do this, I don't think, to provide funds to rebuild Ukraine. That ought to come from the Ukrainians. Although if indeed we get a really good deal on the rare earth minerals, then we could do that as well. And then there's going to have to be an effective guarantee of Ukrainian sovereignty. You notice that's the word Rubio used, as well as the borders. And I think that's what Trump has in mind. And I am rather high on the odds of that being what emerges from this.
Yeah, Senator, to your point, we all have to be very cautious, right, as outsiders looking in to whatever headlines that the legacy media wants to publish on this, and however they want to hyperventilate about whether or not Ukraine's at the table. Because I found a different headline. You got to dig for these a little bit. But to your point, I found a headline today that said former NATO Secretary General says, actually, no, wait, current NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, says that he has great trust in the American team conducting Russia-Ukraine talks. I think the point here, Senator, is that there's talks happening, right? For the last 4 years, there was nothing happening other than Joe Biden just sending more money without any accountability to Ukraine. Now Donald Trump is saying, we've got to do something different than what has occurred over the last 3 years. So that's a big difference, isn't it?
Something different, though, Tim. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No.
This is, I think, this is likely to produce. I'm hopeful. Let me put it this way: this is going to produce an outcome that is an honorable peace for Ukraine, that brings them effectively into the European security structure. They're not going to get into NATO, at least right away, but effectively into that structure with an honorable peace, and one that advances the interests of the United States. Now, you notice, for example, where are these talks being held? In Saudi Arabia.
Interesting.
Okay. The United States is becoming, again, an energy powerhouse. Saudi Arabia is the other energy powerhouse. If we produce what we're going to produce under the Trump administration, and the Saudis open the spigots and produce, what happens to the price of oil and natural gas? It goes way down. And what is Russia, basically? It's a mafia running a gas station, right? Price of oil goes down, and what happens to Putin's revenues? What's the message Trump is sending to Putin with this? That energy is the point of leverage. It's one of the key points of leverage over Putin. Look, I think I've said on the show, and I say in my other interviews, I am past the time when I'm underestimating Donald Trump. So if we get a deal that does not contain the core elements I outlined, I won't hesitate to criticize it. But I think that's exactly what they're driving towards. And the official you quoted is right. This is a very strong team. Rubio, Kellogg, Grinnell. I now see the role the president had in mind for Grinnell. I was disappointed that Rick didn't get, a regular statutory job, but now I see what he's using him for. He's his envoy.
We're speaking with Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Senator, President Emmanuel Macron of France convened an emergency meeting in Paris with other European countries, NATO, and the European Union. They are feeling that they were left out of these discussions in Saudi Arabia. Your thoughts on this emergency meeting?
Well, I'm glad for it. I mean, I think Macron may be doing something useful for once. You notice NATO is there. Look, my concern is not the Europeans becoming too strong or too assertive. My concern is their enormous weakness that they've been showing over the years, which is leaving a huge vacuum. I think this is exactly the kind of thing the Trump administration wants. Now, let's see if they actually get some action behind it. So I don't have a problem with it. I just don't think anything's going to come of it, because what they're good at is, flowery if dull speeches, cutting their defense budgets, censoring their own people, as the vice president said the other day, and allowing, mass immigration without any plans to keep it from destroying their societies. But I'd love to see them become more assertive. Let's see if there's any action that follows this.
Senator, there was a, I guess some thought it was controversial. Others thought it was very factual. Speech by J.D. Vance over in Europe.
Yeah.
And he appeared in front of the whole crowd of Euro socialists, and he didn't hold back, did he? And he talked about the existential threats. And one of the ones he focused on was one that has the European Union all up in arms, to the point where the chair of the Munich Security Conference expressed fear and sorrow, and he was near tears after the blistering Vance speech, where Vance castigated Europe for its censorship regime and some of their issues regarding illegal immigration. Did Vance have valid points to be made there?
Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely. And friends tell friends the truth. Vance has a way of putting it, by the way. He's a very good contrast to President Trump, but Trump's been telling them the same thing too. I mean, they're hurting their own people with their energy policies. Germany's deindustrializing. That's not a hyperbole. And the Germans were the industrial powerhouse of Europe, but their energy prices are so high. And in Britain, it's worse. I just mentioned mass immigration. He's telling them the truth. And the other thing, the point he made, is that they are afraid of the concerns and the activities of large parts of their own population. And they really are. And they encouraged the nullification of the Romanian election last year. We read about that. So they need to come to grips with the fact that their people are upset, and they're upset for a reason. And look, I'm speaking as a politician, Tim. You can relate to this. I mean, when your people are angry because you've been failing, you need to stop failing, not trying to censor your own people or getting them to shut up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Senator, the State Department website was edited recently to remove the phrase, quote, "We do not support Taiwan independence." China has saw this, and they are quite upset. Is this a major change in the U.S. policy towards independence for Taiwan?
So they took out the phrase, "We do not support Taiwan's independence"?
Yes.
They omitted it, but they didn't say we do support Taiwan's independence.
Yeah, it just says it was removed.
This is more complicated than it may appear, and I'll try and summarize it. I can't pretend to be an expert on it. But if this goes back 40 years, just to a series of diplomatic decisions made in the Reagan administration that are called the Shanghai Communique. Okay, so the United States has never treated Taiwan as if it were a separate country. And for a long time, the Taiwanese government didn't want to be treated that way. Both their view and the mainland's view was that there was one China. They just argued over who ought to rule it. Okay. So to summarize it, and this oversimplifies it, we've treated Taiwan as having the right to be autonomous unless they voluntarily agreed to assimilate with the mainland, but we never treated them as independent. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so if you would ask any administration, do you support Taiwanese independence? They would have said no. Now, what's interesting about this is by removing this, because this is a red line diplomatically for Beijing, there would be a real problem if Taiwan actually formally declared independence, or the United States formally said, we think they should declare independence. But we have removed the negative, which unless it was a mistake, is probably a message being sent by the Trump administration pushing on a leverage point. Okay. In other words, this is a red line for China. So the Trump administration is saying, we're no longer going to say we don't support Chinese independence, and you can guess about what we're going to do next. It would be very much like the kinds of things that Trump does. And I'm sure Beijing did not respond well.
Senator, in moving next to the Middle East, we had quite the back and forth last week, whereby in the first situation, Hamas declared that the Israelis were not living up to the ceasefire deal, so therefore they weren't going to release any more hostages. That provoked an immediate response from Donald Trump and the White House saying that they better continue to abide by the deal or there's going to be, quote, hell to pay. Hamas quickly recanted and said, okay, we'll go back to what we originally were proposing. I believe some more hostages were released. But I think that the White House at this point seems to be losing patience, and they probably should take this White House's statements more to heart than maybe anything that was said over the last 4 years. What say you?
Yeah, Tim, I mean, I don't want to overcomplicate all this. What we're seeing is a string of foreign policy successes. So they stopped. Hamas just violated the agreement, which they always do. Mm-hmm. And in the past, what they would have expected is that we would go back to the bargaining table and beg them to keep their commitments. And so what the president did, which is good negotiating tactics, he moved the goalposts back. He said, okay, now you got to release them all, or there's going to be hell to pay. Remember, that's what he said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I figured, as a matter of fact, in some interviews I was doing, I said, I think we're going to see they're going to go back to the deal now. Mm-hmm. Which is not what he demanded, but they're going to move towards his direction because he moved away from them instead of moving. This is basic negotiations 101, right? And so they did. They released several hostages. And so what did the president say? He didn't say, okay, we're back to the deal now. Everything is good. What he said was, Well, it's up to the Israelis, and we'll back whatever they decide to do. So if the Israelis want to go in hard, dump the rest of the deal, we'll back them. Again, I have to tell you, Hamas better stop underestimating who they're dealing with here, because we've come out ahead again. And by saying that he's going to support, that the last thing in the world Hamas wants is for the United States to basically say, we're going to back Israel, whatever it does. So they came out the loser from this little tactic, but Trump avoided, to this point, taking military action. He doesn't like to do that. That's very clear if you look at his first term and you look. I mean, he is trying to achieve his objectives without fighting, which is a classic. Reagan did the same thing. This is a classic tactic of a strong leader.
And finally, Senator Doge, Elon Musk's agency, is currently auditing the Pentagon for an agency that has failed 7 audits in a row. I would say they are pretty ripe for a Doge audit.
Yeah. Well, look, a month ago, I would have said that I thought the potential downside of that outweighed the upside, because this is not USAID. I mean, this is a department of government that we really need, and that defends the people of the United States and their interests. But after watching all this, I think they could do a lot of good. I mean, the Defense Business Board, which is a graybeard advisory group, recommended last year reforms that would save like $125 billion over 5 years. And whenever I've talked to people who I respect on this, they think that $25 billion a year, which isn't nothing, okay, could be saved. Now, what I would do here, I think, if I was Hegseth, is I'd get permission from the president to privately tell Musk 2 things. Number one is, don't make recommendations that relate directly to warfighting capability or how we care for the warfighter. I don't want recommendations saying we ought to cut the GI Bill to save money, or we don't need the nuclear triad. We can deter nuclear war just with our submarines. We don't need the bombers. And then the second thing I think is Hegseth may need to remind Musk that, look, there's one commander in chief, and it's not you. In other words, if the president wants me to do something, I will cheerfully do it. But I'm going to feel free to go to him if I think you're recommending something that will hurt the department. But within those limits, have at it. I mean, he'll probably come up with some good ideas.
And that is Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Senator, thank you as always for your time and wisdom.
You guys are welcome. And again, happy holiday to everybody.
Happy President's Day.
Thank you.
And 444 coming up will be Chris's Corner. We'll have a little Trump news, a little local news, statewide news regarding a hugely controversial issue. A ruling was ruled last week. We'll talk a little bit about that on Chris's Corner. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
I am past the time when I'm underestimating Donald Trump.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cold day out there with a high temperature only making it into the mid-20s this afternoon, and the wind chills into the teens, and then the snow rolls in tonight. We could see a few flurries during the day today, but the significant snow begins overnight. A winter storm watch is in effect tonight for the St. Louis area, and we could get several inches of snow, more to the south and a little less to the north on Tuesday, and a few flurries and very cold the rest of the week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So a man in a wheelchair in the city was held at gunpoint, robbed, and his wheelchair stolen. That kind of stuff pisses off Nick Schroer. We'll talk to the state senator about it Tuesday at 9:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
I've been telling you for quite a while now about Elite Comfort Experts, how they don't believe in gimmicks, just guarantees that you can count on. What you see is what you get. Honest, straightforward value. We've had that personal experience with them ourselves. In 2025, I've told you about also how Elite Comfort Experts is teaming up with Amana Heating and Air Conditioning to bring you an unbeatable offer. And you just heard that forecast. It's going to be very, very cold. So if you're in need of an air conditioner or a furnace, Elite Expert Comforts has a 99-year compressor and heat exchanger warranty, plus a 10-year parts and labor warranty on a new high-efficiency HVAC system. No gimmicks, no tricks, just real peace of mind for your family. And here's the best part of this deal. Elite Comfort Experts is paying for the extended warranty out of their profits. That's right. They'll make less so you can get more. Hey, but don't wait. This exclusive offer is only available on qualifying systems installed before April 15th, 2025. That's just a month away, basically, or 2 months, excuse me. Choose integrity, choose quality, choose Elite Comfort Experts. No gimmicks, just guarantees. Call Elite today at 636-887-0971, 636-887-0971, or visit EliteComfortExperts.com and mention the promo code NewsTalkSTL.
Is your Medicare coverage not working out quite like you expected? You're not alone. Hi, I'm Debbie Westhoff with Westhoff Agency. We specialize in helping people understand their Medicare options and find the right coverage they need. If something's not quite right with your current plan, let's talk about it. I am here to help you understand your choices and find solutions that work better for you. Call 636-500-1843 or visit us at westoffagency.com. Choose Westhoff Agency because Medicare should work for you, not against you.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
President Trump says that the media, the regime media, is trying to drive a wedge between him and Elon Musk.
Actually, Elon called me. He said, they're trying to drive us apart. I said, absolutely. They said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. And I say, It's just so obvious. People are smart. They get it.
Yeah, they do.
They get it.
450 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And the president goes on to say in that clip is that the proof that the people get it, Tim, is that he was elected president after all of the lawfare, after all of the mud that they threw at him for the last really 10 years.
Yeah, Chris, and he did it in epic fashion. He won all 7 of the battleground states, and he won the popular vote. First Republican president to win the popular vote in forever. And so he didn't just win, he won in a way that no Republican president has won in a long time.
Exactly. All right, Joey, let's do a little Chris's Corner.
I was just sabotaged. No.
What'd I do?
No, what happened was I pushed the button and it just changed it to something completely different. We're going to try it. Here we
Does
go.
that count as a mistake?
Chris's Corner is brought to you by Elite Comfort Experts. Call 636-887-0971 or EliteComfortExperts.com.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Just a little insight here. Joey V takes great pride in his job, and he always says every day at the beginning of the show that there will be no mistakes.
No mistakes.
And at the end of the show, if there aren't any mistakes, he tells me that weren't any mistakes today, which I greatly appreciate. So that little glitch there, Joey adamantly says, was not his fault. We will not count that against him, Tim, as a mistake today.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I agree.
All right. Last week, a Jackson County Circuit judge blocked enforcement of an abortion licensing requirement that Planned Parenthood said prevented it from resuming abortions in Missouri. They have said that they will restart abortion soon in Missouri, but they didn't want to give a definite date. So a sad day in America, or in Missouri, that abortions will be happening once again in our state. But hopefully there's something the legislature is working on, and we can maybe talk about that later in the show to alleviate that matter. We've been talking about how the Democrats are lost. They don't know what they want to do. We're also hearing, this is from New York Times, that Democrats and liberal groups are facing a slowdown in fundraising as big donors close up their pocketbooks out of demoralization, fear of Trump's retaliation, they say, or anger at the Democratic Party. It's a huge shift from the well-funded resistance to Trump's first term that emerged from small donors, and many progressive groups are staring down layoffs are worse. And I think when a president has a 53% of approval rating, and that when you see some of the specific things that the president has initiated with the border and other things where it's ranked up as much as 62% approval, you're not going to get a lot of people wanting to give money. What the president is doing right now is very, very popular. We've talked about also how the left knows that they need to move to the center. There is a new coalition in the House. It's called the New Democrat Coalition. It has 110 members in it of the Democrats. And the center-left group is seeing an uptick in interest. They're even having several applications that come from Congressional Progressive Caucus. But the people in the Progressive Caucus are saying, no, we're trying to differentiate ourselves from you. We don't want you joining us. So you're seeing a little bit of an ideological split there in the Democratic Party. Now, of course, if it was Republicans, we'd be hearing this nonstop about the infighting within the Republican Party. Because these are Democrats, there is barely a peep out of them. You know, the one thing we talked about it with Senator Talent about Vice President Vance's speech in Europe was saying that some of their values, which align with America's, they are regressing away from them. One of them, of course, was free speech. And CBS News, 60 Minutes did a report on it. And some of the free speech prohibitions happening in Germany is frightening. You can, if you insult someone on the internet or through social media, you can be arrested for that. They don't have a problem with that. They say that it is the equivalent of insulting someone in person, but it's even worse because it's online and you think that you can get away with it. It's scary just to see how far Germany is going, cracking down on free speech, all in the DEI phase of trying to have a perfect society where everybody gets along and everybody loves each other. I don't know how you can force that on people, but Germany has some real issues culturally and economically, as you heard Senator Talent say during his segment, that Germany is deindustrializing, which is a bad thing for Europe and for NATO and for the United States as a whole. And that is Chris's Corner. I tried to do a little Michael Jackson Super Bowl delay there, Joy. You know, Michael Jackson, when he did his big performance, he sat on the stage and just stared and stood motionless for 2 minutes.
Is that what happened to your hair too? Didn't his hair catch on fire once during a Pepsi commercial?
That was the Pepsi commercial, 1984, my senior year in high school.
So that's what happened to you. All right.
They say that's what drove him crazy, was that his Jerry curl juice caught on fire and burned a little of his head. And that's when he started getting lighter and lighter and started sleeping with monkeys in a geriatric, what do you call it? Bariatric chamber or something?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, your thoughts?
All kinds of weirdness.
What about
Hey,
this
wanna go back
abortion
to
bill? Let's go back to the abortion ruling last week. And what are the
Yes.
developments in the House to try to alleviate that?
House and Senate, Chris, have bills to put a new proposal before the voters. A lot of people, Chris, thought they were voting on limited abortion with exceptions. That's not what the ruling pointed out. The ruling pointed out, Chris, that all of us were exactly right. They basically eradicated 50 years of protections for women. Chris, they eradicated the regulations that have. So basically, Chris, there are more, and I'm not saying this lightly. I have had many people say they can prove this. There are more regulations now in Missouri for a lemonade stand than there are for an abortion facility. So everything is off the books. It's Katie bar the door when it comes to abortion. So, Chris, because of that, the legislature is moving a joint resolution in both chambers to put a new proposal before Missouri voters. Long way to go, but they're working on it in Jefferson City.
And then Speaker's stump speech.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the real reason that we celebrate the season today of President's Day.
And at 5:24, we'll speak with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State. And at the end of the show, Joey's going to take over the segment. He's going to talk about all of the Hollywood stuff that happened on the weekend, especially the SNL 50th anniversary. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Ackerman Toyota is #1 in sales for 2024. That is 2 years in a row. It's really no surprise. Ackerman has the largest customer lounge where you can relax, take your time choosing new or premium pre-owned. Ackerman at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Thank you for making Ackerman Toyota #1 2 years in a row. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. French President Emmanuel Macron has made a phone call to U.S. President Donald Trump.
French President Emmanuel Macron has held a phone call with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. The call came just as he was about to meet leaders of European nations in the United Kingdom to discuss fears that Trump had isolated age-old allies. The emergency security meeting focuses on how to react to the US's diplomatic blitz on Ukraine, which left the once rock-solid partner as a potential political liability. Macron's office would not disclose details about the call with Trump. After the call, the French president greeted German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, and other leaders outside the Elysee Palace. I'm Lawrence Brooks.
The Senate this week may embark on an ambitious vote-a-rama to pass its version of a budget resolution to enact parts of President Trump's agenda.
The voting could begin Tuesday night on the GOP budget plan that earmarks
$175 billion for the border and $150 billion for defense. It's part of the Senate plan to use the reconciliation process to pass two separate major spending bills this year. The House has similar goals, but is working to include all GOP priorities in one major bill. Once voting starts in the Senate, it's expected to turn into an hours-long vote-a-rama, as Democrats who cannot stop the bill with a filibuster will debate its contents and propose a long list of amendments. Bob Agnew reporting.
A badly injured child is among 19 people who were injured when a Delta Airlines plane flipped upon arrival at Toronto's Pearson Airport. The airport confirmed on X that an incident occurred Monday with the Delta flight from Minneapolis and that all 80 passengers and crew are accounted for. Video from the scene shows the jet upside down on the snowy tarmac. More at townhall.com.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is being restored. And there's breaking news every minute. Now, tens of millions of Americans are turning off Fox and CNN and tuning in to Newsmax for the breaking information they really need to know. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top news brands in America. Find it yourself on all major cable systems and on your TV or smartphone store. Just download the Newsmax app for free and start watching. You'll get great shows with Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and Carl Higbie, and more. Find out why millions of Americans have made the switch. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific, and he's watching. So make the switch to Newsmax. Check us out on cable and satellite TV or download the Newsmax app today. Watch us anytime, anywhere. Remember, Newsmax is real news for real people.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cold day out there with a high temperature only making it into the mid-20s this afternoon and the wind chills into the teens. And then the snow rolls in tonight. We could see a few flurries during the day today, but the significant snow begins overnight. A winter storm watch is in effect tonight for the St. Louis area. We could get several inches of snow, more to the south and a little less to the north on Tuesday, and a few flurries and very cold the rest of the week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore to tell you about Michaels Flooring. Michaels is known for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. Installing new flooring should be exciting, not a hassle you dread. Michaels has solved that, and their long list of happy repeat customers is proof. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, ceramic tile, it doesn't matter. Michaels Flooring, with 3 locations, St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This is what's happening.
An American Airlines flight colliding with an Army helicopter.
They are working diligently in very dark and cold conditions.
Congress is going to have a lot of questions.
1019 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The accusation or criticism has been made that this is an unserious hearing full of conspiracy theorists. Well, the Democrats were asked to participate like they always are, the same way we were when we were in the minority. They could have brought a witness. They chose not to even bring a witness. I can't conjecture as to why, but maybe it's because it's so embarrassing, the stuff that USAID is spending their money on. Who could possibly be against ending $2 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala? I mean, who wants to defend that?
506 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, what we know what the Democrats do is they deflect and say, oh, you're cutting off money for AIDS. You're cutting off drugs for malaria. You're cutting off needy services for poor children. And those things are not happening at all. It's these things that have been discovered by Doge that are being eliminated and exposed, not the good programs.
Yep, you're pushing grandma off the cliff. None of the kids will have clothes to wear, food to eat. Chris, that's a drop in the bucket. The bigger chunks of change are what Senator Rand Paul was pointing out there, that we're paying for sex changes in Guatemala and transgender day in Italy, and go down the list. I mean, absolutely insane. And he's right. The reason the Democrats are poo-pooing it or just flat out ignoring it is because it's incredibly embarrassing, the waste in this gigantic multi-trillion-dollar federal budget.
And I think it also shows to me a tacit kind of approval of transgender surgeries for people in third world countries and transgender operas in countries where most people couldn't point them out on a map. I think they support those policies, and they think that those are wrong as well, because somehow that exports cultural greatness or whatever they think it is around the world. So I think they're very disappointed these things aren't funded.
Yeah, and you're right, because they'll piss off the base. And Chris, part of that base, you're not going to believe this. It's 15 degrees today, right? It's absolutely horrible outside. Here in mid-Missouri, in one of the deepest red states in the country, on a 15-degree day, Chris, there was a group of protesters outside the Capitol just hating on Donald Trump and Republicans. I couldn't tell exactly who they were because they were this hodgepodge mixture of everything.
I can only imagine.
We hate Doge and we love purple hair, and what about all the transgenders? And
how many people were there?
They started on a
How many people would you say?
Maybe 30, maybe 30. And I'm like,
dedication.
Chris, where did these people come from? I'm telling you, I don't think it had anything to do with grassroots. I think it had to do with AstroTurf, and they must have been paid really well to stand outside of the state capitol, where absolutely, Chris, no one is paying attention to them on a 15-degree day in deep red mid-Missouri.
Exactly. And that just goes back to Chris's corner, where a lot of the liberal groups are running out of money or laying off staff because there's just no enthusiasm to take on Donald Trump. And the example that you cite shows that when you can only get 30 people to show up at something where more than likely they were being paid to be there. But in terms of just natural grassroots support, it's just not there.
And Chris, I was trying to, I was like, am I missing something? Like, what? It's President's Day. Okay, so I guess were these state workers were off work and they bust them over here? Were they from the city of St. Louis and the city of Kansas City? Why are they here? Nobody. I don't know who their audience was supposed to be. There was nobody watching them because everyone else with sanity is running inside to get into the warm Capitol building. So I don't know why they were here. I don't know who was funding them. I don't know what the point was. Chris, at one point, they started on a pro-Palestine. You can hear them if you're near the windows of the I think they're gone now. But they were on a pro-Palestinian chant. I'm like, wow, this is quite the smorgasbord of insanity.
I'm sure, Tim, when we turn or wake up in the morning and look at our phones and go to the St. Louis Post Disgrace, I'm sure this protest will probably be on the front page. Or if you go down to the end of your driveway, this protest will be on the front page, trying to AstroTurf you into believing that there is widespread support here in Missouri and across the nation against Doge and maybe against this president.
Yeah, maybe we'll learn then, Chris, like why they were here, what they were doing, because I feel like I've missed something. So.
I don't even think they even know, Tim, to be to be honest with you. They are just here to be here. All right, Tim, one other thing. House is in recess. The Senate is in session this week. There are a few people, undersecretaries, that need to be confirmed, but we still have the reconciliation bill. We still don't know if we're going to have two bills or one bills, but it is a good thing that the House did pass their markup last week, and a lot of people are saying that a lot of people got in line for that because they didn't want to be on the wrong side of Donald Trump by not allowing that bill out of committee.
Yeah, they've got to and voters too. Voters are like, hey, it's mid-February now. We're in the second half of the second month of the year. You all were sworn in on January 2nd or 3rd. You've been talking about this for quite a while now. You should have had a plan in place. Let's go. I think people are they love that Donald Trump is restructuring the international world order. He's signing executive orders, but people really, really, really want to see some permanent changes, structural changes. And for that to happen, Congress is going to have to act.
Yeah, and it'll be very interesting. Like I said, there is a dual path right now. The House is on a two-track path, or the Senate is on a two-path track. The House is on a one-path track. The Senate has passed their bill. So it'll be interesting to see how that eventually gets reconciled. Who will win out? Who knows? I know one thing that is completely off the table, but there are folks within the Republican caucus are saying that there has to be Medicaid cuts. And we've talked with Dr. Bob Onder about that. Part of those cuts deal with people, able-bodied people working for their benefits. President Trump and Steve Bannon have both said Medicare and Medicaid cannot be touched, but you will have to cut some of those benefits in order for this to fit under the reconciliation format.
Yeah, we need to make some structural changes to the federal government. It is basically, and the reason we are where we are is because for decades now, Congress has not lived up to its duties and responsibilities. We haven't passed I don't know if we've passed one complete budget in the last 30 years. They've got to get back to regular order. They're sent there to legislate and to appropriate. And I think that's why I think we've had this whipsaw back and forth in congressional power. It's shifted massively back and forth between Democrat and Republican. Every 2 to 4 years, like it seems, we have a new Speaker of the House. And so I think people want to see Congress. I think if Congress does act, then the voters will reward them for taking those. These are going to be tough decisions, but at some point you got to put the politics aside, focus on the policy. How bankrupt do you want the country to be, I guess, is the question to be answered.
Yeah. And, part of the issue when it comes to cuts, when it comes to some of these Republicans that aren't in very ruby red districts, I saw a very interesting statistic the other day that 20 House Republicans are in districts that Joe Biden won in 2020. That's 20 seats right there that could easily be flipped.
True.
And they're in California. They're in California and New York, those 20 seats.
Yeah, I spoke with you mentioned the House is out of session. One of our favorite congressmen, the guy we speak to every Friday afternoon, Bob Onder, is up here in Jefferson City this week. He's parts of this area, mid-Missouri, are in his district, so he's up here visiting. He spoke to the Republican caucuses in the House and the Senate, and he stopped by and spoke with the Freedom Caucus. And we asked him about 2026, right around the corner, right? It's his first reelection and others. And he said, look, we will hold the House, and we could even pick up seats if we deliver for the American people. If we don't, and if we look like we are an impotent body, then the voters will therefore reward us in that way. So he said we have to act, and we have to take this job seriously.
Yeah, I agree. And, those 20 seats, Republicans that are in seats that Joe Biden won in 24, as I said, the majority of them are in New York, and they are in California. And that's why I always, I want strong Republican legislation. I want that to pass as well. But I also look at the big picture of, You've got right now a very slim majority of 2 to 3 seats. If you pressure some of these 20 people that are in New York and California, and they ended up losing their seats, and those sweet seats switch to Democrat, you're going to go from a slim majority to the Democrats having a 20 plus cushion there. And that's what worries me in the long run.
Well, what you also need to do then is run up the score in the red states. And one of the things we could have done here in Missouri was go for a 7-1 congressional map. And now people are going, maybe we should have done that because now we have like a 2-seat majority. Every seat matters. The other thing we can do is get the census right next time. If you talk to anyone who knows anything about census numbers, the census numbers under Joe Biden, which he was in office when all this happened, when the census numbers were finally resolved and the congressional redistricting was done, they will tell you that they were absolutely jimmied with.
Oh, yeah. They're counting illegals. Let's stop California, that, first of all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's one big thing. And I think there's a bill to do that. And right there, you're right, Chris. If we stop counting illegals, California will lose about a dozen congressional seats. New York will probably lose 3 or 4. So there's things we need to do. We need to make sure that the congressional numbers actually accurately represent the country, because right now they don't. Right now they don't. And people are leaving these big blue states and going to the red states, and the congressional numbers do not reflect that accurately.
And when the census comes around, the Democrats fight tooth and nail to be able to count the illegal aliens and legal migrants, wherever the hell you want to count them.
Dead people, it doesn't matter.
They fight. Speaking of dead people, and Elon Musk and Doge, there was a story on Fox Day that says that the Social Security database has millions of people between the age of 100 and 159.
There you go. There you go. I mean, it's just proof positive that we do have waste, fraud, and abuse in government. And so right there, you identified.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. Nobody wants to touch Social Security. Could we touch that? Could we say that there's people who are probably not 150 years old in our country that are getting Social Security that shouldn't be? Like maybe we could start with the easy stuff first when we're talking about, the third rail of political spending in this country, entitlements.
You ready for a speech?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
This time every year, President's Day weekend, there's a lot of funny articles that come out. Some are tongue in cheek, some are a little more serious than others. But there's a theme that I notice this theme every year. There's a lot of folks, a lot of originalists, a lot of purists, a lot of traditionalists who say, why in the world do we just celebrate a catch-all holiday of President's Day? And the articles say things like this from National Review. There is no such national holiday as President's Day. Another article I saw, President's Day, one of the strangest holidays that Americans celebrate. And the point of that article was you're celebrating all of them equally as if they're all equal. And we know just from all the surveys that come out that not all the presidents are viewed as equals in the eyes of the American people. We all will admit. Now we may choose different people, but out of the list of 47, and Donald Trump being 45 and 47, we will say, well, here's my 10 favorite presidents, and here's my 10 worst presidents. Now, liberals, independents, and conservatives, they all may greatly disagree on who that top 10 and who that bottom 10 is, and who all the boring people are in the middle, but they will all agree that they're not all the same and that they can be ranked. So why do we give them all a day? We're putting people like William Henry Harrison and Ronald Reagan in the same breath. We're putting people like George Washington and the horrific Woodrow Wilson on the same holiday. So many say we need to go back to what it used to be, and that was to celebrate George Washington, the father of the country. There'll never be another one like him. He was the right person, the right man at the right time. And to prove that, when he was offered absolute power by the people of his time, there were people who said, okay, George, you served 2 terms. You really need to stay for a third. Maybe you just need to be president forever until you pass to the great beyond. And Washington said, no. We just fought an entire revolution over that. We're not going to have a king in this country. And even though I've tried to be the best, most benevolent ruler I can be, maybe somebody after me would take advantage of that and say, sure, I'll serve forever until as long as you want me to. So he was one of the most humble leaders, as well as one of the most magnificent and magnanimous. I thought I'd read you a little bit from his first inaugural address, just to kind of remind everybody about the measure of the man and why perhaps maybe we should go back to celebrating it as Washington's birthday. He said in the 1700s, late 1700s, it is important likewise that the habits of thinking in a free country should inspire caution in those entrusted with its administration to confine themselves with their respective spheres, avoiding in the exercise of the powers of one department to encroach upon another. Right there, Washington talking about the importance of the separation of powers. The spirit of encroachment tends to consolidate the powers of all departments into one, and thus to create, whatever the form of government, a real despotism. The preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican model, small r, Republican model of government, are justly considered as deeply as finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. This piece in National Review goes on to discuss how the fact that when Washington's retirement came in 1796, with his most notable and enduring text, what became known as the Farewell Address. The address was originally drafted years earlier with the aid of James Madison, as Washington wished to retire, remember, originally after his first term, before being persuaded to remain for the good of the country for one more term. The final address, completed with the help of Washington's most trusted advisor, Alexander Hamilton, emphasized the Republican virtues, again, small r, Republican, the Republican virtues required to maintain the new nation and the gravest threats to it. At that time, and at this time, corrupting foreign influence and factionalism. Famously, Washington noted the need for religion and morality to maintain the republic. He famously said, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism, who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, these firmest props of the duties of men and citizens. Look, yes, we do have a separation of church and state, but so many people have corrupted that to mean freedom from religion. No. As Washington pointed out many, many times, it's freedom of religion. And Washington felt that we needed to be a moral and just and religious society to continue this great human experiment. No one should be forced to practice any religion or any type of religion or any religion whatsoever. But we are a nation founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And that's something that Washington lived out. And he thought that it emphasized the manifest destiny that this great country was created in the first place. So we've had some great presidents. We've had some not so great presidents. We've had some dynamic ones and we've had some duds. But there will never be another father of the country, another George Washington. That's why I wish we would actually celebrate his birthday as we used to. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today.
5:24 coming up. Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State, will join us about the top headlines. And at 5:45, Joey takes over the segment and we do entertainment news. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
I watched myself crawling out as I was crawling in.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
My pronouns are kiss my ass. I saw so much. I broke my mind. I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Cold day out there with a high temperature only making it into the mid-20s this afternoon and the wind chills into the teens. And then the snow rolls in tonight. We could see a few flurries during the day today, but the significant snow begins overnight. A winter storm watch is in effect tonight for the St. Louis area. And we could get several inches of snow, more to the south and a little less to the north on Tuesday. And a few flurries and very cold the rest of the week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime,
Everywhere.
anywhere.
Hey, why do you need a great lawyer? Well, you need a great lawyer to help you through life's challenges and transitions. You also need a great lawyer to prepare you for those moments. You shouldn't just ignore. And I know a lot of people are like, okay, well, if I pretend I don't need a lawyer or don't need to know about lawyers or pretend lawyers don't exist and nothing bad will ever happen to me. You know, sometimes you need a lawyer just to prepare for things. And that's why you should call Todd Sivia and the good folks at Sivia Law. SiviaLaw.com. It's SIVIA. SiviaLaw.com. SIVIA. They will help you with all of life's challenges and transitions. Those would include estate planning, elder law, special needs matters, real estate, business, personal injury, and more. The specialists at Sivia Law, they want you to first go to their website. They offer you so much information there. They actually offer you forms on that website that you can begin to work towards before you even go in and speak to Todd Sivia. You can see all the things that they're going to do for you. And they want you to know that they specialize in specific areas, niche areas that many lawyers don't even want to touch. I'm talking about like veterans benefits. Do you veterans know that there's benefits out there that you may not even be aware of that you may qualify for? Todd Sivia knows because his team of lawyers who are spread out all across eastern Missouri and western Illinois, they're standing by to help you with that and so much more today. So if you would like a complimentary consultation as to any of the matters I just discussed, I want you to call Todd Sivia today, 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL. Or like I said, without any pressure whatsoever, you can go to SiviaLaw.com, SIVIA, SiviaLaw.com, and see everything that Todd Sivia can help you, your family, and your business with right now, today. Without further ado, go to SiviaLaw.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now! With Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
When you've been hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189-million. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
This Susie Moore segment is brought to you by AMF Electric. For all of your residential, commercial, and industrial electrical services, visit amfelectric.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Well, I'm joined now by the President of the United States. Mr. President, 5 years ago, we were standing in this very spot. What brings you back to the great American race?
Well, I think it's fantastic. It's great for the country. Our country is doing well again, and we have spirit all over the world. There's spirit again. We brought it back, and it's been less than 4 weeks. So you'll see what we do in a little period of time. It's going to only get better, but this is very exciting.
You brought your granddaughter. I know some of your other family members are here. You get to take a ride around in the Beast. What is that like?
I'll let you know in about 2 minutes because it's going to be. They're going to be going quite quickly, I understand.
You just got to meet some of the drivers. Are you going to get on the radio again and talk to them before the start of this?
And I say they have a lot of courage doing this. It's I see it, and I've been here, and they have a lot of guts, as they would say.
5:31 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and amazing first the last couple of weeks. I didn't know that President Trump was the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl, and apparently President Trump is the first sitting president to attend a Daytona 500. So the president there making news. Tim, he has made great hay out of going to these sporting events to pump himself up.
Mm-hmm. And the people seem to love it, Chris. He got a huge standing ovation yesterday.
Let's see what our next guest thinks about this and much more.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
Susie, welcome to the show. Are you a race fan?
Sort of. I don't follow it religiously. I've been to the Indy 500 once, and that was a lot of fun. So it's kind of interesting to watch, but it's not front and center for me.
And then also, too, I'm not a big race fan either, Tim and Susie, but apparently the end of this race was quite spectacular. You saw crashes flying in the air, and the winner from last year, I think, snaked by and won 2 in a row. So little news made, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Susie, redstate.com. I saw a very interesting article about our incoming Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, had a quick audit ran on him by the IRS at the end of the Biden administration. Do tell.
Yeah, it's a little unclear. He tweeted about it earlier and posted a kind of a copy of a letter that he and his wife received from the IRS indicating that they owed taxes. And he represented in the tweet that was a kind of a last minute audit that was inflicted on them, if you will, at the very end of the Biden administration. Now, you can't see we don't know all the details yet, but it's certainly, I have no reason to doubt that he's accurate in terms of when they received the audit. I think it would be highly unlikely that the Trump administration would be conducting an audit of its own Secretary of Defense right now. But the timing does seem a little suspect, and it seems to be in line with the way that agency has been used in a punitive fashion in the past.
Yeah, Susie, it really makes you wonder if there's any agency in the federal government anymore that's actually doing what it's supposed to be tasked to do, right? It seems like it's the government has become more interested in investigating Americans for, really questionable types that the investigations themselves are extremely questionable.
It definitely does seem like that. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when, Matt Taibbi was testifying before Congress, and while he was there testifying, he's getting a knock on his door from the IRS. It's just kind of this, it's all of a part and parcel of this mentality that the government is, will be weaponized and will be used to bring its investigative powers against people that oppose it. I guess, we haven't heard a lot about the Department of Interior yet. Maybe they've been minding their P's and Q's.
Speaking with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at redstate.com and host of Red State Radio, Sundays at 4 p.m. Susie, I've said this recently about Marco Rubio, that when it comes to a politician that can answer questions, he is one of the best. You never see him startled. You never see him not prepared. I've also said this, that when he goes against Margaret Brennan of the CBS Sunday Morning Show, he completely eats her lunch every single time. He did not disappoint on Sunday. He totally put her gave her a factual history on the Nazis and the weaponization of free speech, quote unquote, that she said is happening now, and what J.D. Vance did while he was in Munich.
Yeah, that was really kind of remarkable. And I don't know that it would have been as easy for Rubio to do had Margaret Brennan not said something so ridiculously outlandish. But for her to basically frame it as a critique of Vance's speech from Friday and then try to equate the free speech with basically the rise of Hitler and the Nazis and the genocide that they perpetrated was just mind-boggling, although it apparently was the theme of the day on CBS, since they're, I guess, in the we don't like free speech camp anymore.
Yeah, Susie, what is it with these liberal legacy so-called journalists that they have to try to twist themselves into knots, always claiming that Republicans are the Nazis running around in the land these days, when it was the Biden administration that was caught red-handed actually censoring Americans and acting in a totalitarian fashion with their Department of Justice.
Right, but in La La Land, in Dem La La Land now, it's everything is the opposite. So censorship is actually for your own good and for your benefit, and free speech is the danger. And since Republicans have embraced free speech, then it must be bad.
Senator Susie Strife, one of the great authors there at redstate.com, has a VIP article talking about Trump's birthright citizenship ban. It may not be a slam dunk as many of the lefties think so. I mean, the wisdom that we hear is this is in the Constitution. It's a done deal. This can't be changed unless, Congress does it. Your thoughts, and give us a little oversight on Strife's article.
Well, I haven't had a chance to read Strife's article, but I can tell you about I'm familiar with the argument itself. Sure. And that is, the language in the Constitution is a little unclear as to what is meant by subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Does that encompass people who were not, whose parents weren't here legally when they were, even though the people themselves were born here? It's not clear, because particularly when you go back in history and look at, what was going on at the time this provision was enacted and what it was addressing, it's not crystal clear that it was intended to apply in this situation. It's just been taken for granted for years that it was. But we are, I think, one of the only country that actually employs that birthright citizenship mentality. So ultimately, I think it's being set up. It's going to go before the Supreme Court. I think this is one that could go either way. I could see the court saying, no, if you look at this historically, this is not what it was intended to do. And agreeing with the Trump administration, but I could also easily see them saying, yeah, it's a little murky, but, this is the way it's been done, and, we're going to err on the side of caution, if you will. I don't think this is a slam dunk for either side.
And, just a little commentary, Roberts is so worried about his legacy and upholding the court's legacy and all of that. I would be worried and concerned that he would think somehow this would taint his legacy, because it would think he is somehow not equating this with what it was originally intended was to free slaves, and that would somehow he would be viewed as racist in some way. I could just see Roberts thinking in a crazy way like that.
Oh, I absolutely could see Roberts deciding that, since, for him, the paramount goal is to preserve the integrity of the court. And I could see him saying, reasoning that to find that birthright citizenship is not actually, within the language of the 14th Amendment would be a big upheaval, and that would be the court taking sort of an activist step. So therefore, he wouldn't sign off on it. So I could totally see that happening. I'm not holding my breath on this one, and I have to be honest. Of all the things that I care about in relation to immigration, that one's the least of them. Now, I understand it's a problem. I understand that you don't want, birth or tourism or that sort of thing. You don't want to encourage that. But at the same time, I don't think the biggest part of our issue with illegal immigration or with immigration as a whole is about birthright citizenship.
Susie, your article, your little tidbits from last Friday, Valentine's Day, your Valentine's Day morning minute for the love of MAGA, Maha, which is Make America Healthy Again, and Doge. You had a ton of really interesting things in there. This one little tidbit really caught my attention. A lot of us have been wondering, what in the world's going on between Donald Trump and Eric Adams, with the pardon. There's probably a lot of political reasons for that. There's probably some decent public policy reasons to maybe try to get a handle on illegal immigration in New York. But one of the things that you also pointed out was an O'Reilly, who runs on our station throughout the day, an O'Reilly tidbit that was dropped on what Eric Adams might know about Letitia James and Alvin Bragg. Let's remember, with all the Trump lawfare from the last 4 years, the only people that got even close to dinging Donald Trump were Letitia James with the civil suit in New York, and of course, Alvin Bragg with the bizarre Stormy Daniels related criminal matter. So do you think maybe, Susie, that, Donald Trump's trying to get Eric Adams to, as we lawyers might say, turn state's evidence on Letitia James and Alvin Bragg?
Well, I definitely think there's, political strings and alliances and that sort of. I mean, I think there are political motivations going on in a number of different directions. I do think it's important to point out, Donald Trump hasn't pardoned Eric Adams. The Justice Department has elected to dismiss the charges against him, which is a different scenario. And even that has caused a huge kerfuffle because the U.S. Attorney's Office there objected to that, and they all stormed out in a virtue signaling resignation over the Justice Department's decision, which I can understand saying, I don't agree with this. That's fine, but that's the chain of command. Like that, the Justice Department gets to make that call. Whoever is the president, the Justice Department gets to make that call about whether or not they're going to proceed with the prosecution. So, and now I just saw where the comptroller for the city is basically threatening Eric Adams with trying to force him out of the office because I guess some of the deputy mayors are all resigning in a snit over this. So, I mean, everything is just a mess in New York. The back and forth and the backstabbing is crazy. So it does not surprise me at all, the idea that Adams, having come up in that environment, might know where some of the bodies are buried as to some of who, even though they're his fellow Democrats, they're his political foes now.
And that is Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com and host of Red State Radio Sundays at 4 p.m. Susie, thank you so much for your time. We'll be listening Sunday, and have a great week, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Excellent. It is 5:43, and as promised, Joey V will take over the show, and he's going to talk about Saturday Night Live and probably his favorite award show of all time. I think it's the British Television and Film Awards. He just gushes about that. His face, you can just see it just turns so pinkish when he talks about that. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
When the pimp's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
First time I saw you passing by. Whoa.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A First Alert weather day for Tuesdays. We'll get some snow. The main push later in the day and the evening. For St. Louis, though, we still need to be alert in the morning. Some light snow bands could put down a dusting to an inch, but only in those bands could create some travel issues. A low of 9, a high of 16, a low in the afternoon for the metro, while heavy snow builds to the south and eventually pushes up into the St. Louis metro by the evening rush and into the evening. That's where we get most of our snow, winding down by about 2 to 3 a.m. Wednesday. The high only 16 degrees, so frigid. This will be a dry and fluffy snow, and we'll have a wide range across the metro from 1 inch to the north to maybe 2 or 3 inches in St. Louis to 4 to 5 inches on the southern side of the St. Louis metro. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Monday on the Allman Report, all the crazy, nutty stuff from around the weekend. You're going to love it. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountrystore.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arps here for my friends at Royal Banks of Missouri, a full-service, locally owned, that's very important, locally owned and operated independent community bank. Royal Banks has been around since 1960, so you know they're not going anywhere. And they have some of the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. They also have 17 convenient banking locations throughout the St. Louis area, including in St. Charles, across the river in Granite City and Jerseyville, Illinois, and even up in Northeast Missouri in Hannibal and Rawls County. Royal Banks also have over 200 ATMs across the Midwest to give you free access to ATM transactions and withdrawals. And they also offer their convenient interactive teller machines, or ITMs, that will connect you with a banker virtually and in real time. As a customer of Royal Banks of Missouri, you'll find their personal service is second to none. If you want to learn more about Royal Banks of Missouri, visit them on the web at royalbanksofmo.com. royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank for your community.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you wanna be with me. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you wanna be with me.
As we celebrate the achievements of the past 50 years, we must also take a moment to honor those who we've lost. Countless members of the SNL family taken from us too soon. I'm speaking, of course, about SNL characters and sketches that have aged horribly. But even though these characters, accents, and let's just call them ethnic wigs, were unquestionably in poor taste, you all laughed at them. So if anyone should be canceled, shouldn't it be you, the audience?
548 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps. I mean, they're really apologizing for skits done 50 years ago that people wore afro rigs, and that's offensive. Now, Eddie Murphy's I'm a hoe, whatever it was segment, I can see how that may be a little politically incorrect, but come on. All right, Joey, hit it.
I'm not going to play the theme if we're not talking movies. I only have a movie theme.
We're talking. I also want to talk about the what do you call it? The British Film and Television Awards.
You want to hear the theme?
You hate them.
Oh my goodness.
Play
Well, first off,
I
would say that the SNL sketch that they did right then was to make fun of all the racist stuff because they did do a few.
But they're serious too.
I don't know. They showed everything immediately after that. They showed everyone in blackface. They showed everyone eating dogs when they're Asians. I mean, they showed all the offensive, the slut shaming that happened. So
did they play the thing back in the day when Dan Aykroyd used to say, "Jane, you're an ignorant slut"?
They did. They talked about it a couple times on there. Bill Murray said he would only call her a slut backstage, but Chevy Chase, he was groundbreaking, and he decided to call her a slut on TV.
My wife thinks that's hilarious, by the way. She loves that.
Oh, that was one of my favorite because I used to watch 60 Minutes, and they had that point counterpoint, and they did a recreation of that, and it was hilarious. I hate that I missed it yesterday.
Yeah. And they played Richard Pryor and Chevy calling each other the N-word and the honky and the cracker. One of the great sketches that Chris loves.
I do. I thought it was a fantastic show. After Eddie Murphy, it went downhill to me. I don't know any of the characters. I had no idea Adam Sandler was on Saturday Night. I'm serious. I thought he became famous from a song. I had no idea.
Well, I'll play my theme. It sounds like you want to hear it.
Play the theme, please.
There it is.
I just want to hear your girlfriend's voice. She's got a good singing voice.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Joey, baby, what movie are you playing?
I like that. Did you come up with those lyrics, or did she come up with them?
I came up with that. I threw the headphones on her head and made her record it, and she hated it, every minute of it.
But she sounds like it's a labor of love. All right, talk about these, what do you call them, BAFTA?
The BAFTAs?
Talk about the BAFTA awards.
Well, I mean, you have to be a British film in order to be recognized, and no one cares about the BAFTAs. But
I didn't know that.
It does seem like Honora is a front runner again. I don't know if you have even heard that name before, Honora, but it's about a Russian prostitute who ends up marrying an oligarch's son. And it's all crazy, running through New York trying to find him, and he runs away when his parents come into town. And it's a lot of fun, and it should win some awards. But I mean, for the longest time, people were saying that it was maybe the Brutalist, that boring 3.5 hour movies award to lose. But
Joey, you know, I don't follow Hollywood as close as I used to when I was a kid. But how come it seems like over the last 10 or 15 years that the movies that win Best Picture are not the movies that used to be the big blockbusters? You knew as soon as it comes out, it's probably going to win Best Picture and all that. It's just like these obscure movies that nobody has ever heard of or goes to see are winning Best Pictures now. Is it just me? Is that just my observation?
That's just you, man. You don't see enough movies. But I would say Oscars did get in trouble for being so white. You know, Oscars so white was a hashtag. And after that, they decided to open up the membership to more diverse people, more people of color. So you could say that it has gotten a little more indie, more international. You know, Parasite is like a Korean film that won Best Picture, and Trump was like, what happened to the good old days when Gone with the Wind would win? But I would say that it's very crowd-pleasing stuff that has won. Like if you even took the time to watch Coda, which was about a deaf family, you probably would have cried. And then Green Book, that was about traveling through the South and the odd couple situation with a black guy and a white guy hanging out. But I think you would have liked that as well.
Tim, is it just me? We're around the same age. It just doesn't seem the same as when we were growing up. Is that you knew as soon as a movie came out, that's going to be the Best Picture. It's got all the hype around it and all of whatever. It just doesn't seem to be like that as much anymore.
Seems like you got to hunt for it a little harder. You know, it seems like that. And so many of these pictures, I like, we still go to the movies a couple times a year. And sometimes I'm like, what are all these movies? Where have I been? Why have I missed every single one of them? So, you know, I don't know, maybe I need to pay more attention too, but I do try, and I do follow. I'm more of a streaming person now, because I just don't have the time, but I kind of agree with that. Now, I do want to ask Joey, I heard you say, Chris, that he's not a big fan of the British film.
He didn't even want to
thingy.
talk. He didn't even want to talk about it. Really, he told me at the beginning of the show he doesn't really want to talk.
Don't bring
about
up them
but it
BAFTAs.
humor me.
Now, Joey, I heard one of the movies. It's slipping my mind right now, but I read a really brief bit today. One of the movies we've talked about recently won a bunch of awards in the British Academy Awards. You know which one I'm talking about?
Probably Honora. That's the one that I was seeing was getting all the awards, but. You know, if you were to take all the movies of this year and look at the one that's the most crowd-pleasing, I'd say that was Conclave, the one about picking the new pope.
Yes, that's it, Joey. That's it. Conclave won the most awards at the British, at the British thingy.
I mean, that
Award
one
show.
is just
Conclave.
pretty straightforward, and everyone who's seen it likes it. And we even did a screening here at the radio station, and it was a lot of fun.
Is that the movie with John? What's his name? He's always in horror
John
movies.
Lithgow.
Yeah, he's always
Third
in
Rock
horror
from the
movies.
Sun.
He was in there. How was it? Was he pretty good?
It was wonderful. He was sneaky. He was doing behind.
They have a British. What is he? He's from, I think, Pennsylvania, but he always has a British kind of like accent. Always.
I don't know. I mean, Conclave, it's all the different cardinals from all over the world getting together to pick the new pope. So it doesn't really matter what the accents are.
And speaking of Lithgow, he had to have had some honorable mention on Saturday Night Live, because he has been on there a ton of times over the years, hasn't he?
I bet you. I mean, he's very talented.
Yeah, he's been on there a lot of times.
There were some fun jokes during the SNL 50th that I loved, that they said there's been about 900 hosts and only 2 murderers. So that's pretty good record.
So OJ hosted once?
Yeah, OJ has hosted, and
yes,
Robert Blake. Yeah.
Robert Blake.
Yes.
Yeah, Beretta.
Yes.
I can't believe he got away with that. Though.
And you were very upset that Lil Wayne wasn't invited to the Super Bowl party, but
Yes,
he
but
did play SNL.
I did see that, and he actually sang a song. Instead of saying F the police, he said, all I want to do is love the police. I was very proud of him that he didn't.
There you go.
That he didn't take it to another level.
And the funniest person I think of the whole affair was Bill Murray. He still got it.
Oh, okay.
He's very funny. He ranked his top
That
11
was very good.
Weekend Update
Yes.
anchors. He had a separate list for Michael Che. It was the top Black Weekend Update anchors, and coming at number one was
There's been
Michael
one.
Che. And there was only one.
So did they do a tribute for Belushi and Chris Farley, some of the big stars that aren't there? They do a kind of little thing for them.
Yeah, Adam Sandler always gets everyone crying a little bit when he does his songs, and he mentions those people, just how much they miss them. They hold up a picture of Gilda at the end, and if they had a whole 4-hour concert on Friday as well, and they had a wonderful tribute to those people by Eddie Vedder. He did one that kind of got me emotional.
Joey, I saw a reel about Dan Aykroyd talking about the Blues Brothers, and he was kind of relenting on the fact that he hated that John Belushi died because he was his best friend and everything. But he was like, they were about to take the Blues Brothers like to another level. They had signed record deals and all kind of licensing things, and he just felt they were really about to become recording artists, not just a novelty act and movie stars, but they were really going to, be a group. And he seemed kind of sad that happened. It was one of those what could have been.
And that's
things.
how Jim Belushi got famous. John went and died, and Jim just stepped right in, and he became a blues brother.
That's true. What's ever happened to him?
He's still doing it.
You don't ever see him anymore, though, Jim Belushi.
I think he did a sitcom forever, like Everybody Loves Jim or something, and he's a millionaire. So
And then
and
another famous brother, Tim. Whatever happened to Frank Stallone? Whatever happened to
I don't know,
Frank
is he doing
Stallone?
sequels?
I think he's singing.
Is he doing sequels?
I don't know.
Concerts.
He's one of those brothers, had a famous brother, but just, never can get out of his shadow, I guess. I don't know. I threw you with that
Man.
Frank Stallone, didn't I?
Yo.
You did. I was still thinking about Chris Farley. What a loss there, huh?
He was.
I mean, one
It's
of the best physical actors of all time.
That's what I was about to say. It's amazing a man that big could do the physical comedy.
He threw himself around.
Exactly. All right, Larry Connors, USA is up next. Larry's going to talk about Doge shaking many in D.C., a call to censure a congresswoman, and Jamie Ullman, 8 to 10. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in